Welcome, everyone, and welcome to Progressive Discussions. I'm your host, James P. Madonna. As seen on the web, I've been doing this since, as far as video talk, since 2007, and I was doing podcasts in the 1990s, mid to late 1990s. I was doing internet podcasts. So, welcome everyone. I haven't done this show on a Saturday night since, like I told Mr. Western Mike, okay, I haven't done it on a Saturday night since the early 2000s when I started doing the show with my mentor and original co-host, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. May he rest in peace. The managing editor of Newsletters Censored. And that's when we used to do it Saturdays. Podcasts and then the video shows. Actually, it wasn't Saturday night when we did video. It was in the afternoon. It was Saturday afternoon. And but anyway, regardless, Western Mike, I sent you the link on Instagram. How are you this? I would say End of summer. Is it the end of summer? Yeah, almost. Unofficial end of summer and beginning of autumn 2022. How are you this weekend and how was your week? So you're welcome to come on whenever you are home. And I have a lot of material to cover. Usually I go through the deep, serious topics at the beginning of the show. And then once I get through with these topics, I lighten up on the topics. It becomes an uncensored, no holds barred, open topic show. Anything goes. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll keep on typing, and I'll do what I'm doing right now. Is my good friend Western Mike, who does a fantastic live stream on Instagram. He used to do it strictly on YouTube, like I'm doing now, but he switched to Instagram, and his his talk show videos are better than ever. I'm really serious. He has improved over 100%, if there's such a thing. Educational, witty, fantastic. Keep up the good work, Western Mike. Okay. Anyway, let me take a sip of. I have chai tea, which is black tea with chai spices, Indian spices. They also call it tea masala. And I have it mixed with a instant granulated ginger and turmeric with honey tea that comes in granules, and it's from China, or is it Korea? But anyway, they both make it. It comes in foil packets, and anytime you feel like you need to uh, to clear your throat or to help your throat if it happens to be sore. My throat is not sore. I just need to clear it and prepare it for the show. You know, there is a change of the seasons um, syndrome, if you want to call it that, where anytime the seasons change, many people get sick. I'm not sick. I just feel that the temperature has a tendency in my part of the country to change drastically and quickly. In other words, it goes from really hot and humid to periodic hot and humid mixed with cool days. They call that Indian summer. When I grew up, I don't think you can use the word Indian summer anymore. But and then it just dips drastically. That tastes great. Okay, I have a lot of great info here to go through. I'm gonna. I am going to start with my good friend Jason Cleveland. And Jason Cleveland is my other right-hand man. He's actually my right-hand man for progressive discussions. And he started well, counting this video, it will be starting the production of monologues based on different topics, because of personal reasons he can't come on the show. He's a married man. He's got a kid, and he has to keep everybody happy at home. He doesn't have the freedom that myself and Western Mike has. Anyway, I'm going to play what I anticipate a very educational and enlightening video. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, let me do the screen share here. Oh, here we go. All right, Mr. Jason Cleveland and his first pre-recorded recent monologue, and he's going to discuss the infamous HOA, Homeowners Association, and their dictatorial, fascist, power obsessed iron claw that they have on homeowners who assumed that owning a home in the United States was the American dream if you can afford it, but not to live by these dictatorial, oppressive rules that they put on these homeowners that incidentally have to pay a fee to the homeowners association in the area that Jason Cleveland lives, right outside of Seattle, Washington. I mean, how is it your own home if you have to live under the iron claw of the homeowners association and march to their tune and have them bark out orders that you have to obey? Insane. Okay, here we go.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. I am here to talk about my experience with HOAs, homeowners associations, as they're known, and why they could be a good thing, but most likely are really a bad thing. So I am putting this video out at the request of a good friend of mine, James P. Madonna, the Piranha. He has a YouTube channel called Progressive Discussions. He's been going live on YouTube for many years. He's been in social media for probably greater than 20 years. And he is going to play this video during his newly updated broadcast time. He used to go live on Sundays, and due to the National Football League and everyone's interest in that sport, he has now changed his time slot to Saturday, I believe, at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, hello, James. Thank you for showing this video on the broadcast. So let's get started, right? So homeowners associations, my experience with them has been extremely poor. What they're really meant and intended to do is to govern via a set of rules and regulations and covenants what you can and cannot do with your property. Okay, so you also have to pay for the luxury of having these people basically policing your every move. All right, the homeowners association that I live in today, we have about 100 homes in our neighborhood. I live in Snohomish, Washington State. Snohomish County, which is a suburb of Seattle. We are approximately 30 miles northeast of Seattle and probably 6 miles east of Everett, Washington, for geography purposes. But anyway, we've lived in this home now just over 6 years, and the homeowner association dues are $550 per year. They are paid in a one-time yearly payment.
Unbelievable.
Unfortunately, they don't have, this is one of the things I really don't like about it, they don't have a way to pay it online. So you have to pay by check, and you can have some deduction on your taxes for homeowner association fees, but to get a receipt from these people is next to impossible. So there's really no way to prove that you've paid these dues except for doing a print screen on your checking account to show that the money's been debited. So anyway, that's issue number one, I suppose. I'd really like to be able to have the opportunity to pay online. It's more secure that way, and it's a guaranteed payment, whereas paying by check, the last homeowners association we lived in our previous home, you would pay per month, and it was $72 per month. So it was a little bit more. And if they didn't receive your payment by the 10th of the month, they would slap you with a $25 late fee. So you'd have to pay the next month would be 72 plus 25, $97. And it would keep compounding. If you didn't pay the previous month's late fee, they would tack on another month. So it was this never-ending trail of late fees that you could be hit with. And finally, if enough time had passed and you did not pay the HOA monthly fee, then they could put a lien on your house, whereby you'd have to pay severe penalties and legal fees to get that lien removed. And when these folks, this never happened to me, but if these folks were to put a lien on your home, they could unfortunately, they could actually repossess the house. The county could take possession of it. I mean, it's a whole big nightmare, big mess. It's just terrible, the whole thing. So one time at our previous address, I sent the payment in, and then I got a letter back about 3 weeks later saying, no, we have yet to receive your payment. I told them the check number, the day that I mailed it. Unfortunately, with US mail, it's so untrustworthy. There's no tracking number. There's no way of physically determining whether the item that you mailed actually got to where it needed to be. So I called this person. I voiced my concern. I told them, yes, I indeed mailed this check out. You are wrong, but you have no leg to stand on. It's their way or the highway. They're the ones that are right, not you. So anyway, I said, fine, whatever. Very frustrated. Hung up the phone. The next month, I mailed him the additional $25 to cover the late fee and figured I'd be done with it. Well, about 6 months later, they actually ended up cashing that original check. So I called him back and I said, look, what's going on here? You told me you didn't get it and now you've cashed it. And the lady said, oh, I remember you. Yeah, sorry, things get lost in the mail, but you're all good. And I said, no, we're not all good, right? I paid you an additional $25, so I'd like that money returned to me. And she said, well, we don't have any way of issuing you a credit. The only thing we can do is apply that to next month's balance. So instead of sending us $72, you'd send us, what is that, $47 plus the 25. So that's what I did. And then I got a call saying your check is short. Well, not a call, sorry, another letter in the mail saying that your payment is short by $25. So I called her back and she said, oh, we have a new accountant starting. She didn't know to apply this to your balance. So they slapped another late fee on me. And the whole thing it's, I'm trying to remain as calm as possible, but you can imagine all this heartache, time lost, energy wasted, you name it.
See, I always thought, Jason, that a homeowner is only obligated to pay the property taxes if they still owe a mortgage. If they have a mortgage, they're obligated to pay the mortgage um, with the home insurance. But I've never heard of a homeowners association scamming a rip-off fee being mandatory for owning your own home. Never heard of that. Never. This is racketeering, my friend. This is definitely racketeering. So the homeowners association has a permanent place in the Progressive Discussions Chiselers Hall of Shame. Shame, shame, shame on you. Chiselers Hall of Shame.
Pick whatever emotion you want to apply to this situation. Over $25, right? So thankfully we had moved out of that place, and I couldn't be more happy to be rid of that homeowners association, but only to go into this new one where the rules and regulations and stipulations here are so strict. You can't have a car parked in your driveway for more than 48 hours. Okay, so if you have company over, you can get hit with a fine for having overnight guests longer than 48 hours or 2 days parked in your driveway. So they have to move the car out of your driveway to the street where the same 48 hours applies, then back in the driveway. So imagine Christmas time, or pick a holiday. Or in the case of my wife's brother, he had a hernia operation, and we offered him to stay with us so we could keep an eye on him and make sure that he was not in pain and resting and so on. And he was with us for a week. And sure enough, they put a fine on his window saying you can't park here more than 48 hours. It was like a $50 fine. So I marched that parking ticket right up to the HOA, the president of the HOA, and said, look, my brother-in-law's just had surgery. He's staying with us. He's resting. He's recovering. This is ridiculous. And through some arguing, I should say, or persuasive action, he said he would have it taken care of. But this is a public space. The street where we live is a public place, and my property is private property. As a homeowner, I feel that I should be able to have a vehicle parked in the driveway longer than 48 hours.
Well, of course, it's your home. I mean, it's your property. You have a driveway and or garage. You should keep your vehicle as long as you need to. What if you and your wife and kid go on vacation for 2 weeks? What are you supposed to do with your vehicle? Huh? Have it suspended in the air over the roof or something? They're out of their minds. It's really insane. It is insane. I just want to say good morning, my dear Masumi. Good morning. Good morning. I think it's good morning. Wait a minute. I'm so used to doing the show on Sunday afternoon. Hold on. Yeah. Yes. Good morning. It happens to be 9:30 a.m. Wednesday in the Tokyo area of Japan. So good morning to Masumi. We have fans from all over. Good morning, Masumi. And good evening to you, Mr. Bart Robinson from southwestern New Jersey. Good evening to you. Now, let me get back to Mr. Jason Cleveland.
But the homeowners association doesn't see it that way. we're coming up into the fall season, and a lot of folks like to have fires in their backyard. It's a great way to gather and to socialize and so on. But in our neighborhood, in our homeowners association, you are not allowed to have wood burning fires in your backyard. You're not allowed to burn debris or do any burning of any kind. You can have barbecues, but you're not allowed to do any burning. So there's also another thing that happened this year. Due to the age of your home, your house needs to be painted. So I received a notice saying that your house is now, our house here is 16 years old. Based on the age of the home, you need to have it painted. I had several bids done to see what it would cost to have the house painted. You know, it's about $15,000, right? Imagine that. You got to just at the whim of whatever the HOA says you got to do.
Wait a minute. $15,000 to brush and roll paint on a house? 15,000. I swear, in this country, all forms of capitalism are racketeering. And these so-called professionals, you know, they're all following in the pattern of auto mechanics. You name it, they're all crooks. They're all crooks. 15,000 to paint your house. You believe that, people?
You need to do it, right? So I wrote a letter back saying, look, I just can't afford it right now. I mean, I don't have, well, I do, but I don't want to just spend $15,000 just to paint my house to appease this HOA. So I haven't heard back from them, but hopefully I'm not in any trouble, meaning hopefully I won't get any lien or any fine. Another thing here too, they're very strict about keeping your roof cleaned. You know, we live in the Pacific Northwest where it rains a lot. There's a lot of moss on the roof, and it can turn green. And you have to have your roof cleaned every year because it's a stipulation of the HOA. You also have to have your lawn green. In the Pacific Northwest, especially this year, we've received very little rainfall.
So they grade your lawn according to how green it is. There's not enough greenness in your lawn. We're going to penalize you for that. You know what? You can't. This is all true. This is, and I know it sounds like bizarro world, people, but this is all true.
This summer, thankfully, I have an irrigation system, so my lawn is watered every day with a sprinkler system on a timer. But if we didn't have that, I'd have to drag sprinklers out and water the lawn every day to make sure it doesn't turn brown, because if it turns brown, that's another fine you got to deal with, right? You also have to keep up with the appearance, so you have to have your any common areas, meaning areas seen from the street, they all have to be immaculately maintained and landscaped. So I have to be out there mowing my lawn once a week at least. I have to keep my shrubs and bushes and hedges all trimmed very nicely, or else you'll get a fine. You know, I'm just naming a few of my own personal circumstances, but overall, the booklet could be nearly 100 pages long, which is just absolutely insanity. So anyway, long story short is my experience with the HOA, they seem to have this authoritarian, a very powerful way of dealing with things, right? There's no, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Let's try to see it from both sides. They have this very authoritarian rule where they slap you with fines. That's their instant way of trying to get you to react to their requests and demands, which is, it's not a very democratic process, is it? I mean, I own this house, and damn these people, right? I should be able to kind of do whatever I want. Now, I will say the positive thing about having an HOA is that it does keep, it maintains a pretty high standard for that everyone must follow, which means that your property values are typically significantly higher in an HOA than a non-HOA. Maybe some of the upsides of an HOA are, right, you know, people aren't working on their cars in their driveway. They don't have motorhomes parked on their property. They don't let things get out of hand. You know, they have to keep their house looking nice because it keeps the property values up, right? So I sort of agree with their approach of doing that. But, you know, we've got a new HOA president here, and she's a nice lady and stuff. But, you know, overall, it's kind of, you know, just authoritarian rule, right? So anyway, that's my experience with HOAs. I could probably go on much longer, but hopefully this makes it on to James's show. And James and the panel, I hope you're having a great weekend. And take care, everyone. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Well, that was incredible. Thank you very much, my right-hand man, Mr. Jason Cleveland of Seattle, Washington. That was a real life pre-Halloween nightmare story that is not fiction. That was for real. So I don't know where they get this idea anymore about owning your own home. It sure doesn't sound like it. Unbelievable. I want to say good evening and happy pre-autumn weekend to Mr. Daryl Messias of Northern California. Good evening to you, Daryl Messias. Okay, very interesting discussion. Good evening, gents. Very interesting discussion. We live in an HOA, but haven't had to deal with the problems that Jason has. I wish I could stick around, but I have to run. Yeah, I have a lot of material for this switcheroo to Saturday evenings. I realize that many people are watching football games on Sunday afternoon, and they have to attend family get-togethers on Sunday. So I thought this might be a better time slot. So thank you. I guess you feel that the Saturday night switch was a wise one then. Good. All right. I know Bart Robinson is a fitness and nutrition enthusiast. He works out like myself. He's an older man that is very physically active, and we have many things in common. I realize that, you know, you got to run, you got to run. I mean, if you're able to periodically watch the show on your phone here and there, if I'm still live, feel free to comment. Okay, now now we're going to I'm looking for it. I really don't know what happened to it. Oh, this is weird. What happened to Jesse Ventura? is weird, man. This is weird. You know, strange things happen on the internet. That's all I have to say. This is bizarre. Excuse me, people. Well, let me play this. This is really funny. To be honest with you, this is really hilarious. It's hopefully I can open this up. This is a video based on a Republican Jesus. All right. I'm really mystified as to what happened to Jesse Ventura's. I had two videos of Jesse Ventura speaking. I have no idea what happened to it. I didn't touch it. I had it saved in a good place where Mark Zuckerberg can't fuck with my material like he was doing over on Messenger. I think this is it. Okay. We will start this. The Republican Jesus.
Truly I say unto you, whoever welcomes one of these little ones in my name might be letting in a murderer or a drug. Let's get her to a detention center, you know, so we can figure out what's going on. I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. And behold, now I'm all lazy and entitled. You shouldn't have done that. Do unto others as you suspect they might want to do unto you. What is a man profited if he gain the whole world but lose his soul? A lot. He has profited a lot. One soul for the whole world, that is an amazing deal. Why do you look at the speck of dust in your brother's eye, but ignore the plank in your own? Because of her emails. Yes. If a man strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him and shoot him. That is the law. If you want to be perfect, go. Sell all the possessions that you have and give the money to a solid mutual fund. By this, they will know that you are my disciples. That you say, Merry Christmas! Christ! Christmas! That's my name in there, and I put it in there because I wanted it in there so we can all celebrate Big Boy Jesus' birthday time! Okay? Okay.
Rabbi, surely you can heal me.
My child, of course I could. But who would pay for it?
Well, I don't understand. I don't have any money.
Yes, it's a sad story, but it does not make me responsible. It is super duper easy for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The richer, the better, really. Maybe get a solid gold house, just to be sure. Love your neighbor as yourself. Unless you are better than your neighbor. Then tell him that they're weird, and you do not want to bake them a cake. You have heard it said, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say to you, any man who looks upon a woman with lust in his heart should go ahead and do what he's got to do.
Lord, your followers grow hungry, and we have only this fish and bread.
Oh, sweet.
She was unbelievable, huh? The Republican Jesus. Okay. Okay, this is a real chiseler. Car Shield. You know Car Shield? You've seen their commercials. Okay, let me get it up. There we go. Okay. Chiseler's Hall of Shame. The popular Car Shields. And you've seen it.
Well, it's a beautiful day out today. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Of course, I'm here at the shop today, and I got a very important reason why I wanted to really start this video off as soon as I got into the shop. Hopefully, we're going to get some people in here. You can chat it up a little bit, but I wanted to bring your attention to vehicle car warranties or service contracts that all of us are, we get approached by, we get solicited on, and of course with used car purchasing, or even when our new car warranty runs out and we get into an extended program, we want to be aware of the shortcomings that some of these third-party warranties and service contracts will unfortunately offer, right? So one in particular that really has us going here at the shop and the clients that have purchased it is Car Shield. There are many others, but in particular, Car Shield is like the one that's broadcasting the most right now. And we have to tell you that from a professional standpoint, there are so many shortcomings in that service contract and so many loopholes that clients that purchase them are really getting the short end of the stick. There's no question about it that Car Shield is really, they make it very difficult for you to put a claim in and actually get paid. And of course, being live, we have all the noises that go with it. So look, I want to give you a couple of examples that we see here that we have on the lot today that were Car Shield clients, and they were declined their claim, even though you would assume that the reason why the car failed would be covered. All right, so we have our first one here. It's a Dodge Chrysler minivan, okay? It's fairly well kept. It's up in age, I guess, a little bit, but what it had going wrong, what it has as the issue, is the flywheel is cracked, which will not allow the vehicle to start, right? The flywheel is the piece of, it's a component that sits between, good morning, Dennis, is the component that sits between the engine and the transmission. The starter engages the flywheel. The flywheel has teeth. So does the starter's bendix. It comes out, it cranks the motor over. So you effectively, well, you can start the motor if you've got a lot of muscle on the front end, like a big crank, but the starter takes the place of that. If the starter teeth does not match up and is capable of turning the engine over, the vehicle will not start. Now, Car Shield says it will take care of, you think that it takes care of driveline, engine, and transmission. Well, it could take care of the engine, it could take care of the transmission, but it will not take care of the components in between. So this is a loophole that they get you on. So this person is out because you got to remove the transmission to install the flywheel, right? And it's a shame because they're good people, hardworking, and they put their trust, faith, and money into a product that basically sucks. There's no other way around it. And it is a shame because CarShield is being promoted by a lot of your Hollywood actors, your sportscasters, and a lot of people who they have no clue what they're representing. And the biggest one is Ice-T, right? So the actor Ice-T is on telling you, hey, my car is protected by CarShield. Well, let me tell you that legally, he says what he says is the truth. But it's not by contract. It's not by a warranty contract. CarShield Incorporated could be paying all of his car and maintenance bills, no matter what he drives, no matter what Bentley he rolls in, no matter what Jag he might have, no matter what Tesla he may have. He's compensated, right? He's not buying a warranty. So CarShield targets elderly. They target low-income individuals. They target people who have high mileage vehicles, and they prey on them. Even myself got a solicitation from CarShield, right? Saying that, hey, by the way, your new car warranty is running out, and maybe you forgot to sign up, but here, let us show you our policies. So they're very good at getting into your head and getting into your mailbox and getting into your wallet, flat out. So this is just one example, right? They're not going to cover it. So it really does. It really stinks. It really does. So I'm going to show you another example that we have on the lot today. This one's a little bit different, but nonetheless, the young lady purchased the contract. It's I think a 2006 or so Nissan Maxima with a lower end knock to it. Okay, so granted, it may be a case of a little bit more poor maintenance, but nonetheless, she had a contract. So here's the other example that CarShield and other third-party warranties will have you take the burden of proof, meaning that you're going to have to pay for discovery before they may take on the claim. So in this particular case, right, we have a lower end knock. So they want us to confirm that the engine is bad. Well, in order to confirm the problem, the absolute problem, we have to spend almost $1,800 worth of time and labor to discover what we already know, what we can hear, and what any adjuster with common sense would come out and go, yeah, I get it, right? But no, CarShield, to protect its back end, wants us to take the time to tear down the engine to discover what's wrong. Now, that burden falls on the client. So when you call the client up and you go, by the way, you have to take on the burden, you have to pay us to discover, and then maybe your warranty will cover it. That is absolutely horrendous. But it's a loophole. Legal? Sure. Remember the adage, it doesn't have to be fair, it just has to be legal. And they play that up all day long. And even if you look at their website, they have a tagline, the small things matter, something like that. And it's so ironic because they get you on the small things. But what really irritates me the most is how they prey on people who have no clue what to do. And they promise no more car repairs. Never pay for a car repair again. Total BS, total BS, total BS. And you can take it any way from there. But the reason I jumped on is because I want everybody to really understand that there are good warranty programs out there. There are good service contracts. We do know which ones are good, which ones are bad. CarShield, bad. X, triple X, quadruple X, X all the way through. Do not get involved with CarShield. And there's a few others that we can name, but nonetheless, I really had to come out and say, because two people who have put good money out and they're probably financing it and they're probably paying tons of interest on everything, and they can't take advantage of it. These cars are going to go back and sit, not being used until they can come up with the funds to fix the vehicles. A real shame. So that's it for today. All right. I hope everybody's having a great day. It's absolutely gorgeous out here. I hope you're having the same type of weather. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm signing off. It's Tuesday. Beautiful day. Hope you're enjoying it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Unbelievable, huh? Yeah, let the buyer beware. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. It usually is. Okay, I accidentally lost my page here. Now, give me one moment, please. This is really, this sucks, man. I don't know what happened to Jesse Ventura. Did Google remove it without my authorization? Let me see. Give me a moment. I will. There's the James Piranha Madonna logo. I have to find something. I'm still here. It really bothers me that the Jesse Ventura videos mysteriously vanished. I mean, I have no idea. Okay. Okay, we're gonna check out. We're gonna check out Mike Lindell. You know, this fanatic, extreme right-wing Trumpenstein lover, the My Pillow guy that tries to sell this so-called special pillow for $100. Mike Lindell from Minnesota.
We're taking your cell phone.
Hold on, Mike Lindell. All right, I'm back. Let me do a share screen. That's weird that the Jesse Ventura videos just mysteriously vanished. Okay, Mike Lindell from My Pillow is in hot water, to say the least.
We're taking your cell phone. We have a warrant for your cell phone. I go, no. I said, my whole company. I run 5 companies off that. I don't have a computer. My hearing aids run off this. Everything runs off my phone. I said, and then I said, if I don't give it to you, will you arrest me then? And I was just, I'm going, are you kidding me? You're not getting my phone. And so he shows me this arrest warrant. We're going to put it up here in a thing or not. This phone arrest warrant to arrest my phone.
A warrant for your phone.
He goes,
the election was stolen from Trump. He wanted to assist in overturning the results of the 2020 election. And as you might have gathered from that unhinged interview, the FBI apparently surrounded him at a Hardee's fast food drive-thru to basically seize his phone. And that is what he's complaining about. Now, cars pulled up in front of us, he says, to the side of us and behind us. And I said, those are either bad guys or the FBI. Well, it turns out they were the FBI. He later posted a grand jury subpoena from a federal prosecutor in Colorado and a search warrant related to a federal investigation into breached voting machines in Mesa County, Colorado. We had done some coverage on that. And the warrant requests all records of information on the Lindell cell phone that constitute fruits, evidence, or instrumentalities of violations relating to identity theft, intentional damage to a protected computer, and conspiracy to commit the previous two crimes. The warrant cites violations involving Tina Peters, Conan James Hayes, Belinda Kinsley, Sandra Brown, Sharona Bishop, Michael Lindell, and or Douglas Frank, among other co-conspirators known and unknown to the government. And by the way, the Denver FBI office did in fact confirm that they seized Mike Lindell's phone, which I would be shocked if Lindell didn't expect it to happen, but it is Mike Lindell. So I don't know, maybe I'm being too generous to his ability to engage in critical thinking. I don't know. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I was talking this morning and I really don't know what to think of it. Comparing the reaction of Mike Lindell, assuming that everything is as he says it is, and obviously we've gotten some information, but not a ton of information from law enforcement. He's like, he went on every show, basically, his own show. He did interviews on other shows to talk about it and how much of a victim he is and how willing he was to be hauled in. They love talking about how strong they are, how much they're gonna, you're not gonna get my phone. Here it is. Steve Bannon, you left to kill me. Where do I go? I started right here. Okay. Why do they make these claims? Or if they're going to make the claims and then immediately backtrack on them, why don't any of the viewers think, well, but didn't you say you were going to die? I was like I made popcorn. I was going to watch that and then you ruined it. But anyway, there's no accountability, so they can do whatever they want. Whereas Stephen Miller, he was asked a couple of times by Laura Ingraham whether his phone had been seized, and he refused to answer the question, despite being presented an amazing opportunity to make himself out to be a big victim who the deep state is targeting. It's a very different response. The issue, of course, is that Stephen Miller, while being, like thoroughly evil and all that, he's also at least somewhat savvy, somewhat slick. Mike Lindell is an absolute maniac. So I don't know, maybe he should keep his cards, closer to the chest, but he's not. The thing is, any one of them could have important information on their phone. Them, people like Sean Hannity, Roger Stone. We need access to that stuff. The issue, though, is seizing Mike Lindell's phone now. It feels to me like going looking for the documents after a year and a half. You might find something if they were so lazy that they didn't cover their tracks with so much time being provided. But there was all the time in the world for Mike Lindell to get rid of his text messages, get rid of his emails, whatever.
No, you're exactly right about that. But that's why I say it would be shocking if you didn't expect at some point authorities to either do a raid of your home or to seize your technology. If you are engaging in attempts to overturn the results of our democratic process in electing a president, right? But that's the thing, John. We also have to remember we don't have that entitlement mentality. So if I ever did something that I knew was against the law, I broke the law, I engaged in some sort of criminality, I'd be terrified that I'm going to get caught, right? You and I would have probably erased our phones or whatever it is, right? I mean, we would never engage in the criminality.
I'm going to do it right now, just in case. Give me a sec.
But anyone with two brain cells to rub together would know, all right, well, I committed a crime. Now it's time to cover my tracks. Remember, we're talking about entitled individuals who think they're above the law. That's Mike Lindell.
Yeah.
That's MAGA. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. They're nuts. They're absolutely out of their mind, today's right-wing Republicans. And you know what? It couldn't happen to a better political party, because that makes people to the left and progressives look so much more intelligent and normal. All right. Okay, I did that. All right, let me try this. All right. Here's one on Donald Trump, everybody's favorite topic. There we go.
The problem is not Trump. Trump is a symptom. If the problem were Trump, it wouldn't be happening other places around the world. We actually see all sorts of countries, advanced industrial democracies, where people are getting angrier and they're voting more and more against the establishment. We saw that with the Brexit referendum, which was before the US presidential election. We saw it in Germany with the rise of the Alternatives for Deutschland, a actively Eurosceptic party for the first time since World War II. We have nationalists in the German parliament. We saw it with the recent Italian elections, where they threw out all of the establishment parties, and instead it's the Five Star Movement and the League. Again, Eurosceptic, anti-immigration, populist political forces. This is very unusual, and it's not coincidence. So why is it happening? One reason is because you have lots of members of working and middle classes that feel like they are not doing well economically, and no one in the establishment is going to help them. So let's vote for some change. Let's vote against free trade. Let's vote against the support of the establishment. Let's bring in something new. Second point, a lot of this is anti-immigration. Demographics have changed an awful lot in the United States, in Canada, and in Europe over the past decades. And a lot of people feel, people that have come before say, wait a second, you're not taking care of me, but you're going to bring in these new people, and these new people who I don't necessarily like or understand or trust, these new people who are getting benefits. But what about my benefits? It's going to cost a lot of money to bring them in. Are they going to steal my jobs? Are they going to cause crime? Even though in the United States, we know that first-generation immigrants don't actually cause more crime than those that have lived here. Nonetheless, the willingness to believe that those other people are bad and a problem goes up a lot when you feel like your government's not taking care of you. So that's been a big piece of it. A third piece has been the military. You know, the foreign policy establishment in the United States has been very willing to support the US getting into wars around the world. But most of the sons and daughters of the foreign policy establishment don't actually fight in those wars themselves. That's also true of the political leaders that are responsible. As we know, it's the poor people, it's the enlisted men and women. They get sent off. Their families are left broken. Their communities are hindered. They come back. Iraq, Afghanistan, billions upon billions of dollars wasted on these wars, enormous numbers of people that are killed or wounded or have post-traumatic stress disorder. They come back, they're not seen as heroes. The Americans and the Allies didn't win these wars. The Veterans Administration doesn't take care of them. So as a consequence, you see those people getting really angry and not voting for Hillary or Jeb. They're voting for Bernie Sanders or for Donald Trump. And then you have technology, which is that technology today is increasingly driving people apart. We get most of our information in the United States from advertising companies that view us as commodities, products. They sell our eyeballs and our time on their sites to companies that pay money to ensure that we spend as much time as possible on Facebook and on Twitter and the rest. That's how we get our information. We'll spend more time on their sites if we are divided and we are narrower and only follow the things we like, which means Democrats are watching pro-Democrat sites and conservatives and Republicans are watching pro-Republican sites. And there's virtually no overlap. And so it's fake news for everybody. It's us versus them. That's happening across Europe. It's happening in Canada. Those four factors are driving us apart. They're ripping at the fabric of civic nationalism across all of the advanced industrial economies. And by the way, it's happening when the economy is doing really well. The United States today and the UK and Canada and Germany feel more divided than at any time in my lifetime. And yet that's when we can spend a lot of money. So if that's true, what do you think it's going to feel like when interest rates go up and growth goes down and we start laying people off and we don't have the budgetary space to give everybody a tax break? It's going to get worse. So it's very clear that this is a structural condition that we have been living with and ignoring for decades, and it's getting worse. One interesting point, there's one country among the advanced industrial democracies that's not experiencing this problem at all, and that's Japan. You go to Japan, you'll actually find that the people are pretty much just as happy and trusting of their political institutions, their leaders, their media, as they were 30, 40 years ago. Now let's look at all of the factors that I just described that are causing problems in our countries. Economic, erosion of the working class. In Japan, the population is shrinking fast. From now to 2050, it's going to shrink by another 15%, which means that even though the Japanese economy is not growing, per capita, they're doing a lot better, so they don't feel so bad. Immigration, Japanese actually let in almost nobody. So as a consequence, there's no one that they really have a backlash against. It's all Japanese, right? Number three, the military. The United States fights in lots of wars, so do our allies. Japan does not. Their military is constitutionally forbidden from going abroad and fighting in wars. When they did support us in Iraq, they sent a few hundred Japanese. They kept them far away from any fighting. Every soldier had like $1 million of insurance. They made sure that they were calling their families every week. They really didn't have backlash against the military. And finally, social media, technology, where the Japanese as a government has worked hard to keep social media out of the political space, and the average Japanese adult isn't on social media. Only about 39% of them are, compared to well over a majority in the West. So the one country in the world among the wealthy democracies that isn't experiencing a crisis of democracy is the one that kind of rejected globalism and its precepts over the last 40 years.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm back. Brilliant man. I love his videos. He really hit the nail right on the head. It's a much bigger picture that we have to look at. Donald Trump is a byproduct of the big picture, which Nikita Khrushchev during the Cold War, I think it was the early 1960s, he was right. He says the United States will deteriorate, destroy itself from within. Capitalism is a very broken system, and it is an evil system that doesn't do a damn thing for the bottom 98% of the population. It only works for the top 2%. Okay. Got this. Okay. I have more topics. I really screwed up with unless the Jesse Ventura videos were played last Sunday on my show. Okay, Donald Trump threatens to sue Fox.
This is amazing. Trump is
threatens to sue Fox News. This is funny. And they were supporting Trump more than anyone else. They were really up his rectum, so to speak. Now he is suing Fox because apparently they don't do his bidding. I mean, they're not far enough up his rectum. Okay, excuse me, and I will play this.
This is amazing. Trump is threatening to sue Fox News for running a Lincoln Project ad. Before we get to the feud between Fox and Trump, let's look at the ad that ticked him off.
MAGA, we have some bad news. No, not that he lost. Not that your little coup attempt failed and its planners and the attackers are going to jail. No, the really bad news is why Trump told you he lost. Why he set it up way before the 2020 election. It wasn't voter fraud, but it was fraud. Trump told you the election was stolen to rip you off, to sucker you, to take your hard-earned money and shovel it into his pockets. He spent it on himself, not to take back the White House. It was the biggest scam in political history. Every dollar you sent him paid to keep his shaky business empire and lavish lifestyle going. It was a sucker's game all along. And you know who the sucker is? It's you.
So Trump was very, very upset that they were calling his supporters suckers on his favorite news network. Unsurprisingly, he threatened to sue on Truth Social, posting this: "The perverts and lowlifes of the Lincoln Project are back on, where else? Fox News. I thought they ran away to the asylum after their last catastrophic campaign with charges made against them that were big-time sleaze, and me getting many millions more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016. The Paul Ryan-run Fox only has high standards for Trump ads, but not for anyone else. The perverts should not be allowed to false advertise, and Fox News should not allow it to happen. Seawall in court. There is one problem, Mediate reporting that local ad buys are made directly with cable companies, not with the networks like Fox News. And the Lincoln Project is quite happy with their work here. In 2020, the Lincoln Project took up a long-term free lease in Trump's brain. His threat to sue the Lincoln Project today is like Trump himself, impotent, flabby, and pathetic. Fun stuff.
So that was Rick Wilson, the founder of the Lincoln Project, calling Trump impotent. I'm sure he liked that. So Trump doesn't always respond to the Lincoln Project ads. He responded to this one because it got all the way under his orange skin. Why did he get under his skin? Because it's totally true. And with the fact that he was outed here is what's making you furious. You know how much he raised for Stop the Steal? Which is so ironically named because the whole point of it is to steal your money. It should be called Start the Steal. He raised $250 million, but he won't even use it for his own legal defense for all those electoral cases. He won't use it to defend Rudy Giuliani or anyone else because he's trying to funnel as much of it as he can into his own properties and into his own pocket. He is the biggest con man in American history. He's trying to steal hundreds of millions of dollars there. Lincoln Project outs him, and he catches feelings. That's what happened.
I love that. I love those people. The Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian. You know, News Nation should sign them up. News Nation should put them on their network. I know I'm very happy that Chris Cuomo is starting October 3rd, I believe, on News Nation. So, you know, more power to him. God bless him, man. Chris Cuomo will be back bigger and better than ever before. After CNN and his so-called close friends, co-workers threw him under the bus, he will be back with more freedom than he had with CNN. So you're going to see a much better Chris Cuomo on News Nation. But they should really hire Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. You know? Okay. All right. We're winding down. Oh, here's a good one. Lindsey Graham.
There's a
That piece of shit, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham. Okay, let me do the screen share. Bring Lindsey Graham up. There we go. Lindsey Graham.
There's a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information after the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job. There'll be riots in the streets.
There will be riots in the streets. That was Senator Lindsey Graham essentially posing a threat to the DOJ for its investigation into Donald Trump, who we now know had literally hundreds of classified documents in his Mar-a-Lago residence, which he had, of course, taken home with him from the White House. Now that breaks the law. That's why he's being investigated. He was given ample opportunity to cooperate with the investigation, so the raid wouldn't even need to happen, but he doesn't comply, and so the chickens have come home to roost. And of course, after Lindsey Graham issued that threat, it was followed by Donald Trump doing what Donald Trump does best, post on social media. And so he posts on his Truth Social platform to say that he is supportive of this effort to not only threaten the country, but to rile people up to the point where they might do yet another riot on behalf of Donald Trump. Now, Trump also had posted about the FBI. He's trying to instigate some infighting and a possible internal coup within the FBI. But before I get to that, Cenk, I wanted to give you an opportunity to weigh in.
Yeah, as usual, here we go. Things are getting dangerous. So we already showed you the poll, 41% of Republicans think it might be time for violence. And so Lindsey Graham comes out here and says, well, they should do it, basically. He says, you know, if you dare hold us accountable, we will have our fans resort to riots and violence and try to physically threaten you and intimidate. Yeah, that's very normal for the right wing these days. So
be careful what you wish for, Lindsey. we all remember what your reaction was to the Capitol riots. So if you're going to cultivate that kind of environment where political violence and political retaliation with violence is totally acceptable, and you're actually egging it on, again, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, and then of course Donald Trump's going to jump in, and he loves talk of violence. I mean, they told him they're threatening to kill your vice president, Mike Pence, and he said he didn't have a problem with it. So you think he's going to have a problem with this? Of course he's going to threaten more violence. And why would you threaten violence in a situation like this? Because you're guilty. That's why. It's super freaking obvious. And anyone else that had classified clearance would be in prison right now if they had done what Donald Trump did. And Lindsey Graham knows that, and Donald Trump knows that.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to get to some of his posts in regard to the FBI, because on Truth Social, Trump has put up several posts where he's trying to instigate some internal infighting or possibly an internal coup with the FBI. He thinks there's a group of FBI agents who are on his side, and he's trying to get them to act. So in a post, he writes, "When are the great agents and others in the FBI going to say, we aren't going to take it anymore? Much as they did when James Comey read off a list of all of crooked Hillary Clinton's crimes, only to say that no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute. The wonderful people at the FBI went absolutely nuts. So Comey had to backtrack and do a fake investigation in order to keep them at bay. The end result, we won in 2016 and did much better in 2020. But now the left has lost their minds. And, if you think that he might finally be weaning the country and his party off of this notion that the election was stolen from him, you'd be wrong. Because in another unhinged post, he writes, so now it comes out conclusively that the FBI buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election, knowing that if they didn't, Trump would have easily won the 2020 presidential election. This is a massive fraud and election interference at a level never seen before in our country. Remedy, declare the rightful winner, or, and this would be the minimal solution, declare the 2020 election irreparably compromised and have a new election immediately." Like, we live on different planets, but we exist in the same country. It is a disastrous situation.
Yeah. So guys, look, right wing, here we are again. Do you know that you can't just say, oh, the guy who lost is now magically won? There's no vehicle for that. There's no law for that. It's not in the Constitution. How would you even make that happen? Who would determine that, hey, you know what? Maybe in the middle of Trump's term, we're going to say, oh, you know what? Hillary Clinton, she's now the president. Get the hell out, Donald Trump. You know why? And no one did that? Because you can't do that. It's not a thing. Hillary Clinton cried and cried and cried. No one denies that, okay, unless they're the establishment, right? Oh, it was the Russians. It was the weather. It was this. It was that. It was Bernie Sanders, blah, 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 blah. But she never said, no, I'm the president. I want Donald Trump to walk out and I want me to walk in. You know why she never said that? Because that's mental. That's insane. There's no such thing. Or, you know what? I didn't like the way the election went. I thought James Comey was unfair to me. Let's redo the election. You know why she never said that? Because there is no such thing as redoing an election like this. 2 years later. If you think there is, you're just wrong. You're factually wrong. It's not a matter of opinion. You've been lied to. You've been brainwashed. There is no such thing. The guy that you're following, Donald Trump, doesn't know anything. Either he's lying to you that you can redo the election now, in which he's what a monstrous, insane lie, right? Or more likely, he doesn't know himself. He's never read the Constitution. He's never looked up a law in his life. The only thing he thinks laws are for are breaking. So you're following a moron that doesn't know anything about our government. And he was president 4 years. He still doesn't know because he has no intellectual curiosity. He doesn't want to know anything unless, oh, does it help Trump? Does it help Trump? And look, he's the one that passed the law that says he should go to jail for 5 years. I'm going to read you a small portion of the classified document part, but this is the relevant part. If you knowingly remove such documents or materials without authority and with the intent to retain such documents or materials at an unauthorized location. That's exactly what Trump did. And you all know that's exactly what Trump did. And now that he's cornered, he's like, well, let's do a random election. Well, put me back in church for no reason. Or otherwise violence. Let's do riots. That's what the right wing has become. Pathetic, all of them.
Well, I think we make the mistake in assuming that the right wing, as it exists today, really cares about what our Constitution says, really cares about the rightful winner of our democratic process. What's become more and more clear to me, especially with the rhetoric they've been using, things like our God-given rights. Our rights were given to us by God, not by government. That was a literal statement in a Dave Rubin video that we'll show you guys later in the show. But the reason why I bring it up is because it doesn't matter, right? They don't care what the law says. They don't care what the Constitution says. They don't care what the real outcome of the presidential election in 22 was. They want to have it their way, period. And our democracy is barely even secondary to what their desires are. They think they've been anointed by God himself to run the country and throw out any democratic process that would stand in the way. That is what we're dealing with right now. So anyway. All right, well, the one final thing I wanted to mention is he also posted this on Truth Social. He re-truthed someone, if that's how you refer to it on Truth Social. The person wrote, the FBI interfered in the election and put the people who protested it on January 6th in prison. And he quoted that saying, wow, well said.
Was it?
Nailed it. Nailed it. Anyway, we're in a scary place in this country. And the question is, with Trump being a symptom of what's broken in the US, what are we going to do to fix the actual root of the problem? That we have at least 35% of this country that's willing to throw democracy away just to ensure that someone like Trump stays in power.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought, and that's what we're dealing with today.
Yeah. All right. The last thing I'll say, because you asked it in the form of a question, is look, our only hope is for some reasonable person to break into the national conversation and begin to heal things. And not necessarily heal things right away, right? You got to fight back against the misinformation first, and you got to win first, and then do the healing. But it's never going to be the establishment, because the establishment will never admit to their own lies. Oh, all the politicians are wonderful. There's no money in politics. All those millions of dollars in bribes are just hugs and rainbows. So as long as you have the goddamn liars running the place, the right wing is never, ever going to come to their senses, because they think, well, I'm not going to listen to that liar, right? So we're at loggerheads, and national right-wing media won't allow any progressives on, and national media won't allow any progressives on. So they just keep fighting over these issues, and they're both lying for their own side.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun.
Okay. Now, before, excuse me, let me come back. Before we lighten up on the topics, I want to see if my good friend, celebrity performing artist, musician, songwriter, and clothing designer, Mr. Paul Anthony Mantia. I want to see if he is able to come on the show. He says there's a good chance he might be able to come on the show. The one last video I want to show you people is about my favorite social media kingpin. I'm being sarcastic. He's the one I despise the most. The eagle beak, control freak, geek, Mark Zuckerberg. And this is the woman, the whistleblower, who used to work for Facebook, giving testimony and, you know, telling the public about her experiences behind the scenes with Facebook and what they're really all about. Fascinating. I always knew he was a no good, sleazy, sneaky, shady, seedy, a steaming pile of putrefactive fecal matter. Mark Zuckerberg. I always knew this. I have a very keen intuition. Maybe I'm partially clairvoyant. Who knows? But I always sensed that he was no damn good. I'm very good with getting vibes. And let's see. Okay, all right, let me go. This is the last topic. All right, the whistleblower.
The opportunity to
Hold on. Let me do a screen share. This is fascinating. Okay, and away we go. Mr. Michael Hilton, are you still with us? This is the last topic that I would consider serious or deep.
the opportunity to appear before you. My name is Frances Haugen. I used to work at Facebook. I joined Facebook because I think Facebook has the potential to bring out the best in us.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people. Congressional action is needed. They won't solve this crisis without your help. Yesterday, we saw Facebook get taken off the internet. I don't know why it went down, but I know that for more than 5 hours, Facebook wasn't used to deepen divides, destabilize democracies, and make young girls and women feel bad about their bodies. It also means that millions of small businesses weren't able to reach potential customers, and countless photos of new babies weren't joyously celebrated by family and friends around the world. I believe in the potential of Facebook. We can have social media we enjoy that connects us without tearing apart our democracy, putting our children in danger, and sowing ethnic violence around the world. We can do better. I have worked as a product manager at large tech companies since 2006, including Google, Pinterest, Yelp, and Facebook. My job has largely focused on algorithmic products like Google Plus Search and recommendation systems like the one that powers the Facebook newsfeed. Having worked on 4 different types of social networks, I understand how complex and nuanced these problems are. However, the choices being made inside of Facebook are disastrous for our children, for our public safety, for our privacy, and for our democracy. And that is why we must demand Facebook make changes. During my time at Facebook, first working as the lead product manager for civic misinformation, and later on counter-espionage, I saw Facebook repeatedly encounter conflicts between its own profits and our safety. Facebook consistently resolved these conflicts in favor of its own profits. The result has been more division, more harm, more lies, more threats, and more combat. In some cases, this dangerous online talk has led to actual violence that harms and even kills people. This is not simply a matter of certain social media users being angry or unstable, or about one side being radicalized against the other. It is about Facebook choosing to grow at all costs, becoming an almost $1 trillion company by buying its profits with our safety. During my time at Facebook, I came to realize a devastating truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside of Facebook.
The company intentionally hides vital information from the public, from the US government, and from governments around the world. The documents I have provided to Congress prove that Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages. I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth. The severity of this crisis demands that we break out of our previous regulatory frames. Facebook wants to trick you into thinking that privacy protections or changes to Section 230 alone will be sufficient. While important, these will not get to the core of the issue, which is that no one truly understands the destructive choices made by Facebook except Facebook. We can afford nothing less than full transparency. As long as Facebook is operating in the shadows, hiding its research from public scrutiny, it is unaccountable. Until the incentives change, Facebook will not change. Left alone, Facebook will continue to make choices that go against the common good, our common good. When we realized big tobacco was hiding the harms it caused, the government took action. When we figured out cars were safer with seatbelts, the government took action. And when our government learned that opioids were taking lives, the government took action. I implore you to do the same here. Today, Facebook shapes our perception of the world by choosing the information we see. Even those who don't use Facebook are impacted by the majority who do. A company with such frightening influence over so many people, over their deepest thoughts, feelings, and behavior, needs real oversight. But Facebook's closed design means it has no real oversight. Only Facebook knows how it personalizes your feed for you. At other large tech companies like Google, any independent researcher can download from the internet the company's search results and write papers about what they find. And they do. But Facebook hides behind walls that keeps researchers and regulators from understanding the true dynamics of their system. Facebook will tell you privacy means they can't give you data. This is not true. When tobacco companies claimed that filtered cigarettes were safer for consumers, scientists could independently invalidate these marketing messages and confirm that, in fact, they posed a greater threat to human health. The public cannot do the same with Facebook. We are given no other option than to take their marketing messages on blind faith. Not only does the company hide most of its own data, my disclosure has proved that when Facebook is directly asked questions as important as, how do you impact the health and safety of our children, they mislead and they choose to mislead and misdirect. Facebook has not earned our blind faith. This inability to see into Facebook's actual systems and confirm how they work is communicated and confirm that they work as communicated is like the Department of Transportation regulating cars by only watching them drive down the highway. Today, no regulator has a menu of solutions for how to fix Facebook because Facebook didn't want them to know enough about what's causing the problems. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been need for a whistleblower. How is the public supposed to assess if Facebook is resolving conflicts of interest in a way that is aligned with the public good if the public has no visibility into how Facebook operates? This must change. Facebook wants you to believe that the problems we're talking about are unsolvable. They want you to believe in false choices. They want you to believe that you must choose between a Facebook full of divisive and extreme content or losing one of the most important values our country was founded upon, free speech. That you must choose between public oversight of Facebook's choices and your personal privacy. That to be able to share fun photos of your kids with old friends, you must also be inundated with anger-driven virality. They want you to believe that this is just part of the deal. I am here today to tell you that's not true. These problems are solvable. A safer, free speech respecting, more enjoyable social media is possible. But there's one thing that I hope everyone takes away from these disclosures. It is that Facebook can change, but is clearly not going to do so on its own. My fear is that without action, Divisive and extremist behaviors we see today are only the beginning. What we saw in Myanmar and are now seeing in Ethiopia are only the opening chapters of a story so terrifying, no one wants to read the end of it. Congress can change the rules that Facebook plays by and stop the many harms it is now causing. We now know the truth about Facebook's destructive impact. I really appreciate the seriousness which the members of Congress and the Securities and Exchange Commission are approaching these issues. I came forward at great personal risk because I believe we still have time to act. But we must act now. I'm asking you, our elected representatives, to act. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, people. She was being a bit too diplomatic in regards to what she said about Facebook. I mean, she was very accurate, obviously a very intelligent young woman, but she was being way too kind concerning Mark Zuckerberg. Way too kind. Well, what I could do is here, I could do a little spinning wheel, spin the wheel, make a deal, right? Let me do that. Just a little bit, because I don't see anybody. I don't see Paul Anthony Mantia or Michael Hilton. So let me bring up the wheel. Spin the wheel, make a deal. There we go. Well, the only thing I will say is that I wish I had the wisdom and knowledge that I have now way back in the day when I was younger. Then what would have happened was I would have spotted all the red flags and not got involved with those females in the past that had obvious red flags. Therefore, I would have avoided much stress and disappointment. I would have been able to avoid a lot of stress and disappointment, and I would have also not hung out in all those bars and dance clubs when I was much younger, because the advice that some very intelligent people gave me was, they said, you're not going to meet a nice girl in a gin mill. And they were absolutely right. Now, today, you have something very negative when it comes to long-term relationships, and that is the feminist modern day woman. And if Michael was here, we could do a little red pill talk and enlighten people as to the realities of the modern woman, which is not good. Okay. Oh my gosh. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. The Eagle Beat control freak geek himself. Well, I just played the video before about the whistleblower that used to work for Facebook. And that's exactly what he is. You see, back in grammar school and high school, I remember the dorks, the nerds, the geeks, and they had no masculinity at all. They had like raisin balls, and the only way they can get attention is to get under everyone's skin and annoy the shit out of them, and that's what they do. So that's what Mark Zuckerberg does. He's a geek. And he acquired a fortune by means of ill-gotten gains and screwing people over because he belongs to the tribe. And that's his prosthesis. That is his an extension of the masculinity he doesn't have. Dicks and Beaks. Nina Yordi from the ocean state of Rhode Island. How have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. I switched my show from Sunday afternoon to Saturday night because all the dudes are watching football, and or they have family get-togethers. So I pretty much went through all of the deep, serious material, and let's see. Let me see if I can. I mean, you're welcome to join if you're home. If you're out, have a good time and get home safe. Dicks and Beaks. Dicks and Beaks. Michael Hilton, are you still with us? I know Paul Anthony Mantia had a serious issue with his internet connection. He switched internet providers as well as mobile phone. He had a really bad company called Metro PCS. So he switched to T-Mobile, but there was an issue with his, the Metro PCS turned off his service because they lied to him by telling him that he had 5G with his phone, and he really, in reality, had 4G. And the whole time he thought it was 5G, and it really sucked. I mean, the Wi-Fi sucked. It all sucked. And he's suing them. He's bringing them to small claims court to get reimbursed for all the money he spent on Metro PCS based on a lie, telling him that he had 5G. Now, I have 5G with Spectrum, and my internet is pretty fast. So anyway, let me go back to the spinning wheel. Spin the wheel, make a deal. This is BC of BC's beer review when he occasionally passes out on people's live stream shows. Low-life trolls living in their parents' basement. Well, trolls are people similar to geeks. They're usually some are dysfunctional misfits. Some are very intelligent, but they're not socially accepted. They're very strange people. Many of them are very unpleasant to the eyeball. They're ugly or funny looking, and the only way they can get attention and feel a sense of power is by trolling others online on the internet. And South Park did a show about trolls that was very good. Because normally, that's what South Park does. And that's it. That's the human race for you. All right. I'll spin it one more time and then I'll close out the show. One more spin. Okay, climate change. Well, if they don't do something soon, it will be irreversible. The planet Earth is in serious trouble. As you well know, severe storms are happening all over the country and the world. Terrible flash floods, typhoons, tornadoes, hurricanes. Next, earthquakes. We haven't really seen any severe earthquakes, but they are overdue. Volcanic eruptions are also overdue. But that's geological. That's not climate change. The sea level is rising, and the sea level will rise, they say, scientists, 16 feet if this very famous huge glacier in Antarctica, which is hanging by a thread, should drop into the into the sea, into the ocean, we will see a 16-foot rise in sea level. So between the fossil fuel industry with their fluorocarbons going into the atmosphere and the destruction of the rainforest for the sake of greed to profit from all the wood that the rainforest has to offer, destroying species of creatures that depend on the rainforest. And the rainforests, incidentally, are the lungs of the planet Earth. Trees are extremely important, vegetation in general. So between that, the heat waves, record temperatures, you saw what's happening. I think it's still going on in California with the drought and the record heat waves, creating, of course, the forest fires that is so common with climate change in California. It's really a bad situation. It's terrible. So anyway, regardless, I don't know where everyone is, but I will say thank you, everyone, for joining me. Thank you to Western Mike, Michael Hilton, Bart Robinson, Daryl Messias, Masumi from Japan, Nina Yordi from Rhode Island. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, have a great Saturday night and have a great Sunday. Bye-bye. And be safe.